Okay, we have a tooth number 10 here, obviously broken down to the gum line, non-restorable, looks like it's previously endo-treated, previous post. We see these all the time. Patient walks in, the crown and the post are all together and they want you to save it, and literally it's impossible. So we have a solution here with implant dentistry, but these are some of the toughest cases to plan, and for good reason. So let's take a look. We're here in the implant align view. This is the initial plan that has been sent to me. Let's take a look at what I'm seeing. And I want to back up for a second here. I'm going to make the implant disappear. I'm also going to go ahead and make my crosshairs disappear here as well, so I can take a closer look at, well, maybe the crosshairs won't disappear. I wish they would, but they don't look like they're going to. They're not. That's okay. I want to take a look at a couple of things. So when I plan these cases, I'm looking at a couple of things. One, so I want to mentally talk about what I'm looking at. So when I look at this case, I'm going to mentally outline my tissue, which looks to be about like so. Okay. Okay. And then what I would like to do is then outline my bone, which looks to be about and this is an area I want to come back to. That looks to be my bone. Now, this gives me a good mental preview of where I would like this stuff to be. So unfortunately, I can't leave this on the screen. It doesn't look like no, it doesn't look like it. So unfortunately, I can't leave this on the screen. But what I want to look at is right here. I cease to clearly see the buccal bone. Now, it may be that the buccal bone is so thin that it's not showing up, which is one issue. Or it could be that the buccal bone is missing and there's a dehiscence. But when I look at this, and I'm critically looking at this, this automatically tells me that more than likely I'm going to need to graft here. Now, let's say the buccal plate is intact, it's just very thin. And I'll show you here why I would say that's probably the case here. That still means that when I place this implant in here, I'm going to want to graft this area. I'm going to get some graft material here to create some thickness, because we know the trauma of extraction, curetting out the area, placing the implant, there's a good risk that we may perforate that plate just from the thinness or from the trauma of the surgery, from the wound healing. So I want to get some bone in here to add some thickness to protect my implant and prevent that. Or if there's a dehiscence, which there's a good chance there may be a dehiscence here, then I know I need to raise my flap to at least to right up in this area, and then be able to graft a little bit of bone here. And just, it's, again, 5 years ago I would have said that sounds crazy. Today I would say that's pretty routine, no big deal. So now let's go ahead and get our implant plan back on here. And here's our implant. So again, if we look back at our mental visual of where the bone is, it's right down here. So this implant plan is obviously way too, it needs to be like that. Okay, that'll get us to the bone level. Now we know that we're going to have some bone loss from taking the tooth out. So I would probably go ahead and drop that a little bit more that way. And now we can see by doing that, a couple of things we've gained. Apical stability. So now this much of the implant right here, that's another thing that I look at, is where does the tooth end? So let's take a look here at our tooth. So here's our tooth socket, just like so. That's badly drawn right there. I apologize. There's our tooth socket. So now we can see how much of our implant is going to be in quote-unquote fresh bone or new bone. So we can expect a great deal of stability out of this implant in this area. So, I want us to be aware of that when we're doing all of this. So, I wanted to point that out to you. The other thing I take a look at to be able to detect if there's a dehiscence here, go to our 3D mode. And in our 3D view, just right click and let's go to a surface mode. Now when we go to surface mode, we can see if there's a dehiscence. Like right here, we can see the mental foramen. Right here, we can see the mental foramen. So we can see that there's again, what we're seeing here is not dehiscence, we're seeing the implant. So if we turn the implant off, we can see that there's probably bone here, but there's a good chance it's going to be very thin right there at the apex of the root. So again, these are the little tips and tricks that we need to use to understand where the bone is, to understand the different issues that we may come across with. So again, to get here, I right-clicked and went to surface mode. I'll go back to volumetric mode. So again, we can see right here is where the, right there is where I'm worried about. Okay, and we can see that there may be a little hole there, a little dehiscence. Between taking the tooth out and doing all the work, that's a concern for me. So I think we should be prepared and ready for that and understand how that goes. So my goal in this one was not to look at an implant plan because I don't like to plan anterior teeth without CEREC data to get the implant in the right position. I'm also maybe a little thin here. More I wanted to point out the area of that buccal dehiscence, potential buccal dehiscence, and how we can use the technology to better look at these things. Thank you very much.